Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5, at the 2, at the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what is going on, everybody? It's Friday. We are back. Last episode, we were talking all about beating up on the Packers. We were talking some Bobby Quinn press conference. We're back here Friday to kind of give an overview of this season, talk some best and worst. Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing, man. Just ready to get this going. I want to recap the season here.
Yeah, man. Any news and notes? I mean, I know we're still kind of looking for an OC and had some minor things going on. What are you picking up on Lions related?
Yeah, like you said, let's start with talking about the OC. I know they're looking for a new one. I know a couple of names have been floated out already. I mean, I know I was reading like Steve Sarkisian. He used to coach the Falcons, and he used to coach out at USC, and he was kind of been around for a little bit. That's one name I've kind of heard. I don't know if I'm too excited about that. Anybody you hear of, or anybody that you wouldn't mind targeting that the Lions might take a stab for as their new OC?
I really don't have a big opinion on this one. I've looked at a few guys that I know a few people had kind of said originally, Adam Gase might be a good fit. I mean, he's done some good things and get some glowing reviews from the Peyton Mannings of the world, but
he just signed with the Jets. Just hired him as their new head coach.
Yeah, that's where I was going. He got hired, so he's kind of off the board. I mean, he was one I had heard the most talk, and because he was a head coach, I was sort of trying to figure out if that'd be a fit. I mean, I guess without knowing all these names, I'm leaning towards Sarkisian because he worked with his boy Matt Ryan, and I mean, yeah, he got fired, and yeah, he's moving on. But if you look at their numbers, I mean, they were tops in offense. I want to say, Matt Ryan was a top 3-5 guy in passing at least, and they had a pretty high-powered offense. They just got hit with a lot of injuries. So, I'd go with him over, the Hackett's of the world coming from Jacksonville and some of these other teams. But I mean, whoever Matt Pat thinks and whoever can work best with Stafford and get him rocking and rolling is who I want.
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody to get this offense maybe a little more dynamic. I know Matt Pat said in the presser that he's just looking for one of those top of the league run games. He's very, very interested in having that. He touts how those teams go far and they make the playoffs. And my biggest thing is I know when he brought it up, he's like, well, look at the Rams, look at the Saints. They're in the tops of running games. And all I can think to myself is like, yeah, but those teams also have dynamic pass offenses where they just can't stack the box against a run. They have they have a passing game that makes teams have to like keep guys back, and they just can't stack the box. So if he can come up with something like that, fine. But if he's just looking to go 3 yards in a cloud of dust, 1970s, early 80s football, then if he's looking for an offense coordinator to do that, I mean, I wouldn't be interested in that. But whatever Matt Pat wants to do to get this team rolling to throw some points up on the board, because we saw how they struggled late last year, and I know a few things went into that, but still, I mean, that finding an OC out there that can put some points up is a big thing. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Matt Pat, I know he also said in his presser that they are at the 8th pick, but that trade is open, that they're willing to listen for offers. Would you rather have the team trade down, or do you think staying at number 8 to get the best player available that can help them out? Which one would you be leaning for this, Derek?
Well, I think it's perfect, Grifka. I mean, right out the get-go, you just throw out there that and you're open for business, you're willing to trade. I mean, that's what every team does, but it doesn't hurt to do that right now. Kind of see what comes of it. You're waiting to see what quarterbacks and what high end players come out that maybe you don't need that you could be willing to move down. So I'm all for trade down. Always have been, probably always will be. You know, the counter argument is the Lions need some blue chip guys, man. They need some difference makers, and usually get those guys at the top of the rounds and top of the draft. So, you know, if they can't get a good deal with somebody, I think this is a good year to stay pat at 8 and take a top player. Now, we talked kind of last show about, you know, who that might be or where they might go, but I mean, this is loaded up with pass rushers and defensive linemen, and there's also some really good skill player receivers type things that are going to go upper first round type talents. So I think they can't go wrong either way they go with this thing.
Yeah, I think at number 8, it's like one of those picks you're kind of starting to get in the middle of the round. And from what I've read and heard, that it's like top 5 is like where all like the real high end guys are, and after that it drops. You're at that second level. So 8's kind of like at that second level pick. Not quite for sure how deep that second level is though. So if they trade down, you know, a few spots, you know, pick up another pick later, you know, a couple picks later, if they, you know, drop down to like, you know, middle of the round, you know, like 14, 15, 16, you know, I'm not too sad about that. But, you know, if they stay, you know, at 8, you know, get somebody that can, you know, help. I know we talked about it last show where I'm really interested in, you know, trying to really help this defense, you know, get a pass rusher, or maybe a cornerback, you know, a good cornerback that can fall down to 8. I would be open to that as well. So,
Grifka, I hate to work on your math here, but the middle of the draft's 15-ish, 16-ish, not 8. And in no draft nowadays in the NFL is there just like a top 5 and then a drop-off. You know, the drop-off is probably like the mid-third round when it comes to like good talent now in the NFL draft. So just want to let you know.
Well, I want to let you know. I mean, since you want to, you know, throw that in my face. I mean, I don't know where your middle are, but 15. If like middle. Okay, if they go right to 15, okay. Well, that makes 0 sense. So your very top end is your first few picks of the draft. That's why everybody always wants, you know, everybody looks to move up to get those guys. You're not trading up to go get mid-round talent. Okay, so yeah, your top end guys are like 5 to say like you're getting studs in the 3rd round. Okay, then why doesn't everybody just trade back if all that talent's still sitting there? So I think you're wrong on this one. So we'll move on before I drop one of my taglines where you hit your bell. Let's just get back into the season review and the team review on this one. So
No, you're not getting away that easy. So I was just trying to educate you, Grifka, that when you said 8's kind of the middle of the round,
it kind of is the middle of the round.
There's 32 teams in the NFL, Grifka. I don't know if you know.
So where's the low end of the round?
If you divide that by 2, that's 16.
Where's the low end? Where does your low end start? Well, you talk like 1 through 10 is your top, 11 through 20 is your middle, and then 20 through the bottom is your low end.
I was just telling you that the middle pick isn't 8; it's 16.
No, I said you're in the middle of the round. You kind of are.
Okay. Well, I guess we have different math classes, but like when I'm talking talent drop-offs, I mean, no, there's not 5 players and then a huge drop-off. I mean, a little bit, yeah. There's little tiers, but I said it doesn't start falling off to the 3rd round because you can still get starters there. I mean, okay. There's game changers from 1 to 15 or whatever it may be.
Your blue chip talent's not hiding
starters.
In the 3rd round. Your blue chip talent's not hiding at 15.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, well, go look at the history and look at all the great players that come from 2nd and 3rd round.
Let's look at the history also, all the bums too. Okay, I mean, so that happened at the top of the round, at the middle of the round, in the 3rd round.
Let's look at all the bums in the top 5 and 8 where your drop off is. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, well, fine. We can do that one time, but that's not what we're set up for today. But I'm sure we can go, dig through the history books and the last few drafts, and find all the studs out there in the 3rd round. The onesie twosies, and then there's plenty of guys that 1 either aren't on teams, or 2, they're your special teams guys. So,
but why would you come negative? Like the Lions are finally picking in the top 10 again. They're going to get a top talent, and negative Grifka acts like, oh, if they would only been 3 spots higher, they get a stud. But because they're at 8,
it's the same reason people are crying about them beating the Packers and falling. I mean, gosh, we discussed this before. I mean, ding, but the higher they pick, the better the guy is. And I argue with you. Just because you pick high doesn't guarantee you're getting a Hall of Famer, Pro Bowler, All Pro guy. You can find those guys in the middle of the round. But this year, there's better talent at the top, and it's not as deep as it has been in past years. So to say you can still find studs in the third round, but they're not like people aren't stretching. Oh, this guy's going to fall in the third. They're going to take him in the first. And some guys are going to be like, well, this guy's a first-round talent who's going to fall to the third. I mean,
I'm just yelling at you because you went Mel Kiper and acted like after the first 5 obvious players, you don't know anything else. I'm telling you, already digging into this draft, you're going to get quality players in the mid, late first round, second round, third round.
There's difference between quality players and blue chip stars. I mean, God.
Okay, so everybody out there, all the Kool-Aid drinkers, after pick 5, you might as well turn off your TV. There's no blue chippers per Grifka.
Oh well, I'm sorry. In the third round, we'll be looking at the Pro Bowlers, all like these new guys are going to draft. Okay, so
like Kenny Galladay.
Okay, and so also who else?
Like maybe our starting safety, Tracy Walker. Like maybe Graham Glasgow, who starts for our team.
Tracy Walker. Oh wait. Does Tracy Walker, is he a dog? Is he established?
He might be.
Okay.
I said he's a product. I wasn't acting like top 5 is the same as third round, Griff. I was saying, where's the drop off in the NFL draft? After the third round is when you're picking more flyer guys. You're taking like more chances. You're supposed to get starters in the first 2, if not the third round. That's what I was saying. And instead, I have to yell at you for 10 minutes about this. Let's move on.
Oh no, I ain't gonna let you off that easy.
Okay, I can go all day and yell at you about draft. You can't hold me in draft, Grifka. All the people know this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay,
Stick to your lane of like
that's right,
negativity
every
or
draft
like hating
pick with
the team.
Every draft pick you look like Johnny Blue Skies, and you're like, this guy's. Oh, we're gonna give him talent. This guy's gonna be something just because you believe in him. And I could be like, well, he sucks. Nick Fairley. The guy was lazy at Auburn, and they took him. And you're like, well, he could be good. Well, could be, but chances are he's not. And yeah, he turned out to be lazy. But the same thing. I know Eric Ebron had some sort of like comeback year with the Colts, but he sucked for the Lions. Because all he did was talk. That was another pick that was horrible. But you were all like, well, he could be good. He could be decent. I mean, just because like some guy in the Lions draft him, all of a sudden the guy's going to be a stud for you. Or like, well, let's give him a chance. I mean, just because you like Johnny Blue Skies look at the great side of everything, and I'm like, well, he ain't that good. Doesn't just once again, just because you say it doesn't make it true. So.
Classic Grifka, everybody. He picked out a couple picks that he thinks and feels he got right and didn't look at the ones that he screwed up. If I pulled up our draft history over the past 5 years, Grifka, we're either picking either the same or similar type players, and some of them have been good, some of them haven't. You know what I mean? You're no whiz there just because you say things after the fact. And if you look at my history, I pulled out some guys that are good.
You go out on a limb and say everybody's going to be a stud, and then when they suck, you just kind of like brush it aside and like never mention it again. And like when I bring up, oh, you're one. I mean, and then when somebody does like, well, see, I said they were going to be good, because you say everybody's going to be good all of the time. You never come out and say like, well, I don't think this guy's that good. You're always like, well, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. Just what he'll be good. And then when it happens, I mean, just because you say he's good, everyone's good. And when they turn out to be decent, you're like, see, I told you. But like, you're always like, you picked out the one that I got wrong. Well, okay, if that's what you think, but you're always like saying everybody's good. So you going out on a limb just to state that everybody kicks butt, that's not really going on a limb, because that's your mantra with every player that they take. So.
Okay, Griff, if you say so. But again, this is called the Detroit Kool-Aid Cast, and so I'm drinking the Detroit Kool-Aid, and you hate everything.
I need to be all sugar rushed on like every one of their players because it's the Detroit Kool-Aid. So I should bow to the greatness of every GM who's drafted every Lions player of all time, because they could have been good when they drafted them.
Okay, or just do what you normally do, which is hate on everything, and then when it's good, wear the jersey, wear the hat, come on the show, and then talk good about them. That's
fine.
The way to go.
Like I said, I can be like you, and just all of a sudden, like everybody's awesome, and just, so like when the one guy pans out, you can be like, oh, pat yourself on the back that because you threw out a net and said everybody was great, and then like, oh, see, I got that one. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Well, like I say, I think we got it pretty well documented who I picked over the last 5 years or so. If we ever want to really break that down of where I hit and where I missed,
Yeah, I would
versus, like,
love to do
the
that
two
one
picks
show.
that you did.
I would love to do that. Go back and like document how awesome like all these people are that you're like, yeah, he'll be good. He'll be great. Let's give him a chance. He'll be awesome the last 5 years.
No, we'll just look at when I'm making the pick. Like if I was the Lions at real time, who I took, and yeah, there's some great picks in there. There's some not so great. So no, it wasn't that I hit on 100%. It's not like that I knew everything about all these players. I got no medical info, no nothing. But I've got a written down who I'd taken. Where you just wait until they suck and you go, see, I knew that guy was no good. I told you. Like, and then in the meantime, you just complain all the time. That's why the Kool-Aid drinkers can't stand it with their negativity. Where at least I'm with them drinking the positive Kool-Aid and trying to root on my team.
Okay. I mean, you're more than welcome to go get another Johnny Blue Skies guy. I mean, to like, so you guys can just pump out, sunshine at everybody all the time. Just because, some people speak the truth doesn't make it a bad thing.
Yeah, it's the truth. You're right all the time, right, Grifka? We want to pull up your selections and kind of see your history. You just don't know what I know. Like, wait till this
don't know what
season.
I know. I mean, what? Because
this
makes zero
season,
sense.
After
know what I
pick
know.
15,
What
you're not
insider
going to know any
information
players.
you have? You're just reading what else. You're just reading the same stuff everybody else is putting out there. You're reading the same stuff I am. I mean, you're not an insider. What are you, breaking down film on guys? No, you're getting secondhand information like I am. So to say like you don't know what I know, I mean, come on already. Really? I mean, you want to say, you're like Mel Kiper.
It'll be proven.
You're comparing me to Mel Kiper. Okay.
On.
I mean, I'm waiting to see you on, NFL, on the NFL Network. I can see you standing at 7 o'clock, standing next to Lindsey Rose breaking down the draft. I mean, to say like you don't know what I know. You're reading the same stuff I'm reading, boy. I mean,
it's proven, Grifka. When we have our draft shows, you won't have the knowledge or the insight I know. You'll just be guessing because you don't care about football as much. You just sit there and are negative on everybody and then pretend you're smarter. That's the bottom line. I do watch the highlight reels. I do read up on these guys. I do keep the draft board going. So why would I not know more than you? I mean, you just try to pretend.
I try to pretend to know guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I spend my
some work in.
I spend
put
my
some work in, and then
my
come find me.
Saturdays in the fall like watching college football. But yeah, you're
okay.
right. You're right. I don't know garbage about these guys. You're right. I mean, I don't know anything about these guys. So, okay. Yeah,
we'll see.
But because
we'll see. Go put some actual work in and do some actual work, and then come see me. Don't just watch a couple games and think you know.
A couple games. I watch a couple games. Okay. I mean, if you think that's all I do is just watch a couple games, I don't know anything. Okay. I mean, you can believe that. You can believe that all you want. Like you're breaking down guys in the 5th round. Like, I know this guy from Central Connecticut. I saw him. Because I keep a board and I read some information that was pumped out there by some other guy. Yeah, I know you're picking up like film from like a MEAC conference or something like that, and you're breaking it down. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Let's just go back to where this argument started. You said there was a drop-off after 5 picks, and that just shows that you got no depth of draft knowledge. I mean, I didn't want to go as deep as we're going right now.
There's top-end talent, and then there's a slight drop-off. I said there's the next tier. You made it sound like it was like the top of the Grand Canyon down to the riverbed. No. And you're trying to tell me you can still find great talent in the 3rd round. Yeah, you can. I mean, those people are like a little more – if they were first-round talent, the only reason they're going to fall the 3rd round is if they're like – somebody thinks there's troublemakers or an injury history. So to say like some first-round talents fall into the 3rd round simply because everybody's missing them, yeah, okay. You're right. That happens all the time.
Just making stuff up. Nobody said first rounders in the 3rd. I said you can find there's a drop-off in the 3rd round because that's where you start not finding starters / quality NFL players because the drafts are so deep these days. I didn't say, you're going to take a guy at 8, you can get him in the 3rd round. It's not what I said.
I've seen plenty of backups taken in the 1st round as well. So to say that there's not a drop-off of talent in the 1st round is incorrect.
And I also didn't say that. I said there's not this huge or drop-off at 5 to 8 because that's how you sell everything. You sell it that, poor Lions are 8. They won't get a good player like they would have at 5. And I'm telling you there's probably 15 players that are good. I always
say prospects are prospects till they do something. You're always like, you were sitting here like telling us how great they should lose so they can get better players in the draft, higher up.
Right.
So which way is it? Is it, are they still going to find a great player at 8? Because I remember
Yes.
you were all jonesing for them. They could get like the 4th and 3rd pick. If they just
Right.
kept losing, they'd be fine. They would get that pick, and that way they'll get better talent. But at 8, all of a sudden, they're going to get the same. They're going to get the same stuff.
Yeah, they'll get a great player at 3 or 4. They'll get a great player at 8. They've got good players at 20 when they've been there because that's how the NFL draft works. Now, for you, it's just, wait till they're a 3-year Pro Bowler and then I'll give them credit. Like
That's because you
not
tell
how
them
it
they're
works.
established. You call guys established like they're freaking studs and dogs when they've been in the league for 6 freaking weeks. This guy's got like 6 games under his belt, and like he's established. I mean, the guys let him like do something first before we start, calling this guy like a Pro Bowler. I mean, let him do something first. Just because you go out on a limb and say like, oh, this guy's going to be a stud.
It's real hard, Griff. Wait till it's sunny out and go, hey, it's sunny out.
Like, wow, that was really a stretch and it really panned out. Tell me that one.
Are you done? What'd you say?
I said, tell me the last guy you thought was a stretch round, first round pick. It's like, wow, they really reached for that guy. And then you had egg on your face about it.
Grifka, I focus on who the Lions are taking, and
okay,
the Lions.
Tell me the last Lions guy you thought was a stretch in the first round, and they panned out. But I don't know why you're just focusing on the Lions when you're so deep. You should know everybody. Go ahead, continue.
Oh my gosh, you keep turning the argument. Like, I don't just look at the Lions picks, but that's my focus. And yes, I do look at the players across the board. I don't even know what you're asking because, like, I don't look at the Lions pick and go,
no, because you're
that's
saying
good.
all I do is focus on the bad. All I do is focus on the bad. I'm like, no, I just because I'm more truthful about it and say like, this guy's not as good as this guy. You think I'm down on him all the time. You think I bust on him, and I wait 4 years before I call him good. I'm saying you just because you throw it out and say this guy's good, and then all of a sudden, a few games into it, you're calling this guy a dog and established, and I'm like, well, let's just wait for him to do something first. And you're like,
okay.
Oh, what, 4 years down the road? No, well, you're giving the guy 1 year. I've seen a lot of 1-year wonders in this league.
All right, so like I always bag on you because you wait till it's sunny out, and then you go, hey, look, everybody, it's sunny out. Instead of being the weathercaster that 2 weeks away, you go, I think it's going to be sunny next Thursday. And then when it is, people can give you credit saying, hey, that was a good guess that you said it was going to be sunny, and it actually was. You get no credit for walking outside when it's 80 degrees and saying, wow, it's nice out. Like, that's just common sense BS that anybody can do. So that's always been my beef with you. Now, what Lions player did I not think was going to pan out? I mean, I don't know. I didn't want Eric Ebron at the time. Did I try to justify him after and think hope he'd be good for our team? Yes, we've been down this road a million times. Kerryon Johnson, you got to wait 2 years. I was telling you after 6 weeks, this guy's a heck of an NFL running back. I mean, what do you want me just to sit around like everybody else until he's an all-pro and then say it? Oh yeah, that'll be great. That'll be real interesting to hear. When everybody's like, yeah, the sky's blue also. You know what I mean?
Just because you call everybody good from the jump. I mean, so really, you're like, yeah, you wait till it's sunny to say it's sunny? Well, you call everybody good before they show anything. I mean,
okay, yeah, I've never been critical on this podcast at all of anybody. You're right. Can we move on, or like
you're critical after the fact? Like
we'll show what we know come draft season. How about that? We'll show draft season. Who knows? And you'll be sitting there just fumbling around looking for names and trying to figure out, and I'll be on top of my game.
Okay, man. Like I said before, man, you're ESPN, man. You're the product of the moment, man. And to act like you're like sitting down, breaking down film like guys on ESPN, NFL Network, Fox Sports or whatever. Okay, man. It's like, yeah, and you're right. I don't sit around and I ain't pulling up a tape from some backup safety from Vanderbilt. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm not picking up that guy. Yeah, okay. So to act like, because like I said, you're getting your same information that I'm getting. You're not an insider. You're getting the same information off the same sites I am. So, to sit there and like act like that, that you got all this information that people are calling you to give you stuff. Come on.
Again, nobody's saying that. I'm telling you, when it comes down to who I would have taken and the takes I have, I know my stuff. I feel like you just say, oh, like I would take this guy or this guy, and then when the Lions pick, I don't like it, and then if he ends up being good, you're happy. If they're not good, you wait 3 years. You go, see, Oakley, I told you.
No,
And
I've
people
told
are
you.
tired of
I've
that.
told you before, like what I would take in the first round, which guys I don't like, what type of position players I don't like, which type of position players I do like. I've told you that. So when I tell you I don't want them to take an interior offensive lineman in the first round, I don't care who it is, and they take them, I'm not going to like the pick. Sorry.
Okay, and that's
I think
stupid because we took Frank Ragnow, and he's going to be all pro.
Offensive guards are not playmakers. You can find good offensive guards in second rounds, third rounds, fourth rounds. So no, I don't like taking a first-round pick on an offensive guard. I don't like taking a first-round pick on a tight end. I don't like taking a first-round pick on a strong safety. That's me. So when those picks are taken, I'm not going to like it. Sorry.
Okay, and then when they're good players,
you need a strong safety. Okay, fine, go ahead. But that doesn't make you more knowledgeable.
Okay. If you say so, buddy. Are we done with the 20-minute whatever we just did right there? Because like I say, we'll see what happens. I feel confident in not only my picks over the history, but like how I approach the draft. You obviously feel good about you. We'll just see how it plays out. We'll document this year, and the people can see the Oakley Kool-Aid picks and the Grifka Kool-Aid picks, and we'll see what they think from there. And then hope our Lions do well. That's all. All I was trying to say is that you're selling the draft quite a bit short, I think, as far as how deep the talent pools are. And even if people are saying this is a weak draft, it's not, because there's so many players that the Lions can use at different levels, and this draft actually fits the Lions' needs in a lot of different areas, from edge rushers to D linemen to got some corners and got some skill players on the outside that can be helpful, and it's a deep tight end draft. So all those things line up nicely. So why we'd be selling it as though, we're going to have this drop off, or like there's nobody good in the third round, I just don't understand it. But that's your take. So
I
move
said
on.
Nobody good in the third round. Okay. I just said there was a talent drop off after the first 5 picks. You were going down to the second step, but that's okay. You think it's like endless. Through the first round, that the same talent level's all there. That's why guys are generally slotted and stuff like that. But okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even want to talk again, because I could name off 10 players probably right now that are good top NFL players, and instead, you're acting like after 5 you're going for a number 3 corner or something, or number 2 corner. Like, it's just not the way it is.
But there's still guys. You said there's 10 guys, but still they're going to be ranked, and there's a drop off somewhere. These same 10 guys are not all in the same level bucket of like. There's still going to be a top end of those 10 guys, no matter the 10 guys you name off.
So if the Lions didn't get number 1 pick, you wouldn't have been happy, Grifka, because there's a drop off after number 1.
Well, there's a drop off after number 1. There's a drop off after number 2. There's a drop off after number 3.
There you go.
But
might as well just not even pick them, huh?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying the very high end is the first few guys, and that's what other people that I've listened from other people and what I've read. But to say like, oh, you can't find a quality guy, no. But there's a difference between getting all pro guys, and then and there's a difference between getting guys that are solid. And like I said, prospects are prospects until they do something. So yeah, you may get an all pro guy at 8, but like I said, I'll fall where the draft is, wherever. That's why I always say I'll take a win no matter where it's at, no matter what the record is. Where you hear like you said before. Losing helps. You want them to win, but if they lose, it's fine because they get a better draft pick. So you had that mantra before that you want them to lose, but now they're at 8, and you're like, you were okay with it. Where I'm like, well, there's better talent at the top end. The first 5 guys is what I've been reading and what I've been doing.
We are at the top end, Grifka. We're at number 8 overall. If we were at 15 and we could have been at 8, yes, I'd be pissed. But we're at 8. We could have been at 5 at the best. Who cares? You're still going to get a stud. I mean, let's move on. Jeez.
Okay.
Waiting.
So we're
nothing more to be said.
What's that?
There's nothing more to be said. I mean, wherever you want to take us, Grifka, I'll answer anything you got, buddy.
Okay. So I guess we'll just review the team then at that. Something like you said, I mean, Lions were able to get more of a running game this year with Kerryon Johnson. And they got a couple Pro Bowlers on the defense, and I believe Snacks was missed out on. I do believe Snacks Harrison was a Pro Bowler, even though he was with the team roughly a little over half the year. But he did miss the Pro Bowler, but they still got Slate and Diggs as a backup. And then my pleasant surprise rookies this year were Tracy Walker, Frank Ragnow, and Deshaun Hand. Do you? I guess what I'm asking is, obviously we both feel Slade was deserving, and Diggs. Do you think Diggs maybe should have been a starter? Are you okay with him as an alternate? And do you believe Snacks Harrison should have been to the Pro Bowl as well?
I mean, I don't care at all about Pro Bowl, to be honest. I mean, it's a worthless game, other than the acknowledgement from the fans or the whoever sort of votes for it. I mean, it's just an acknowledgement that you had a good year at whatever position, but it's a popularity contest, so I could care less. I mean, the fact that Diggs he definitely isn't a starter in my opinion, because he's not a top 8 type DB/safety in the league by any means. So just that he got acknowledgement is good enough for me. Snacks, had a great year, good numbers, but again, he's a big run stuffing DT. I don't think that those kind of guys are very exciting to watch in the Pro Bowl. He doesn't have the biggest name or personality, even though he's a great nickname and is a good dude. I mean, he's not going to get picked over guys like Aaron Donald and some of these other DTs that are just highly known and bigger spotlights, stuff like that. So, again, I don't put any stock in it. It's just, it is what it is. And, people are like, oh, the Lions didn't get many players. I mean, that doesn't faze me either. It's like, we know who played well, we know who didn't. The acknowledgement is just like you got a little slighted because it looks good on your resume to have a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro, whatever it may be. So I feel for the guys from that perspective, but otherwise, not a big deal at all.
Okay. And what about, did you had any other pleasant surprises that out of the rookies, or maybe just the three I named off, Hand, Walker, and Ragnow? Would there be anybody else? I realize each one of them has a little bit of stuff to work on. I know Ragnow looked a little shaky on pass rushing sometimes. He had trouble with stunts. Walker, I mean, when he was in there, he seemed to make plays, but he wasn't out there all the time. So maybe once a little more film's on him, teams will know how to attack him. And Deshaun Hand, I don't know if they were just focused on other guys when he was in there, and then I think the injury really hurt him with his development, even though it was later in the year. I mean, once again, at his position, all the snaps it could have taken would definitely have helped. Were there any other pleasant surprises, or were those kind of like the three that you would think also?
I mean, those are all the main guys. I mean, for me, it just comes down to when you look at a draft class as a whole, again, you're trying to get a long-time starter and a impactful type player in the first round. You're trying to get another, impactful / starter day one is the hope in round 2. And round 3, you're hoping to get a starter as well. So when you look at a lot of Bob Quinn's drafts, I mean, he hasn't missed really on any first rounders that have busted out. He's only missed on tees in the second round, and he's found gems in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds in all types of his drafts when it comes to Glasgow, or even what Zettel did for a while here. Now he's pulling Deshaun Hand with a trade up, I think, in the fourth round there. He's getting a guy like Tracy, who none of us were that high on in the mid third, whatever it was, and has a vision for him to be a starter on this team. So, I mean, when you can look back at a draft class and say, we got Ragnow, Kerryon, T-Walk, Hand, and then filled in some other holes, like, that's a good draft. I mean, these players still got some work to do, but, I mean, you can name 4 guys that are in your starting lineup or will be in year 2 and are making plays. I mean, you got to chalk that up to a class, because there's plenty of group teams that will only come away with a couple talents that end up sticking. And I feel like those 4 names showed out well this first year and are going to be players on this team, just depending on what they had around them and what roles they find for them. But again, I think it's another good, solid draft for Bobby Quinn from rounds 1 to 5.
Okay, well that's good. Like I said, we'll have to see what's coming up here, and with this draft, hopefully he hits on some more players. But rather, let's go into some discussion questions here. Just want to get your thoughts on a few things here. What was a bigger surprise to you? The way the defense progressed and definitely improved as the year went along, or was it the improved run game? You know, with the addition of Kerryon, I think LeGarrette Blount would have to probably be the biggest bust of the free agent signings that Quinn had. But what would you find a little more, I guess, a bigger surprise? Would it be the improved defense or the running game?
I mean, I think our running game's improved, but I think because we didn't see it for the last quarter, basically, of the season, that it's better, but how much better, and can they withstand it? I think the O-line's got to pick it up a little bit. Kerryon's got to continue to both be healthy and get the touches in the pass game as well to really make that impact. So if I had to pick one, I mean, I'm going to go with the defense just because, with Ziggy being hurt again and with these different areas, that we had holes, I feel like to see what they did in the second half of the year, probably the last 8 games or so, was real impressive, something to build on. Even Deshaun Hand, I know he was the guy that I had kind of highlighted, but I had heard good and bad things about him. I mean, to see what he was able to do. And then we were about ready to kick Ashawn off the team, and then he showed up big again, like the player we hoped he would be in the second round out of Alabama. So, to me, the biggest surprise is the defense, and they got a lot of upside. So does the run game, but, if we can add a great defense and have a decent to good run game, I think we'll be a better football team.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, to say that the improvement of the defense, especially the way it looked at the beginning of the year. I know getting Snacks was a big deal of changing that. But even some of the other guys, like you mentioned, Deshaun Hand, Ashawn Robinson, them guys coming up. I think Jared Davis, he progressed later in the year. Yeah, he played better as the year went on. Hopefully that continues going into next year. Still the defensive backfield. I mean, Slay played like he usually plays, how I guess expected him to play. I think he got burned a little more on a couple things this year. I don't know if that was just simply trying to make plays, and biting on plays, just trying to make something happen with the way the season was going. But the way the other cornerback played, that other side of the field was really hindered them, and I believe that hindered them all year. But the way the run defense improved, the way the linebackers, Kennard and Davis, I think Christian Jones was a little bit of a disappointment. It seemed like a lot of games he wasn't on the field, even when he was on the field. But I think the defense improving throughout the year was probably a bigger surprise to me than the run game. I think the offensive line still the right side of the line still isn't where we thought it would be. But like I said, Ragnow, Taylor Decker had a decent year, and Glasgow at center, giving Kerryon Johnson, he had that little burst that he would always hit the hole hard. I think he had good vision. He didn't seem to be missing a lot of holes when they were there. He knew which way to cut to get the yards, as opposed to just kind of running into guys or cutting the wrong way and into a tackle. But like you said, get a few guys on the defense, in the draft, and maybe a couple of guys just patch holes in free agency. This defense could definitely improve on where they were this year. So, speaking of a few guys on looking to improve, what position group, it'd be the offensive line, linebackers, defensive backs, what do you feel was the biggest disappointment this year on the team, where you thought they'd be better than what they actually were?
Quarterback. Starts right with the quarterback. I mean, everything goes through the quarterback now in the NFL, and I thought he had the pieces, had been in the offense a few years. Right in that prime age, had showed good, for the most part, a year or two ago, where he wasn't turning the football over and making plays. And we just straight up weren't good enough at the quarterback position. Now, of course, injuries and trades and all this stuff comes into it. But if Matt Stafford is marginally better this year, I mean, we're not winning 6 games. That's the bottom line. So that was the biggest disappointment to me at quarterback because of the expectations and because of the money we have in that position and because it all starts there on the offensive side of the football. And that's really where we weren't good enough this year. I mean, towards the back 2/3 of the year, we were good enough on defense. We were good enough on special teams. We just didn't put up enough points and make plays, and you have to do that in the NFL. And number 9 just didn't get it done. I mean, still support the guy. I hope he has a bounce back year, but the biggest disappointment is number 9,
Okay.
Matt Stafford, for me.
I agree with you on that. But I think the one that really disappointed me was the tight end position. And I know we had talked about this on the last show. They tried to go out and actually get some big name guys for that position, and they ended up kind of settling on Levine Toilolo, Luke Wilson. I know early in the year, after the preseason, I was surprised with Akeem Velez. Thought he could do something. He didn't pan out. I know you were big on Mike Roberts, and he had a few touchdowns, but he was hurt again. And I know with the tight end position, I've always said it shouldn't be the guy like leading the team. I would take a guy who can block, can move the chains, when needed them, that safety valve guy. If it's 3rd and 3, he'll go get you 5 yards, something like that. If, a guy who can get down the seam, make the catch. I'm not looking for Rob Gronkowski. I'm not looking for Tony Gonzalez. I've always said I would take somebody like Owen Daniels or somebody like that. The guy wasn't a stud, but the guy was reliable. So the few guys that Bob Quinn signed, just trying to use as a patchwork, you could tell as the season went on, it was really a patchwork, and that one really, really hurt the Lions this year. So I would have to say that the tight end position, definitely needs an upgrade, and with that, I think that could only help Stafford, next year, even if they were upgraded to somebody that could, like I said, be a safety valve for him when needed. With you mentioning Stafford, though, on senior point, I guess that leads me to my next question to you. Stafford's been around. He's still He's 30 years old, I believe. They're going to be 30 or 31 going in this year. 10th year, in the 11th year. You think at this point, do you think he's starting to hit the downside of his career, or do you think this year was just kind of just a bad year, kind of like a blip on the radar? What would you call this year?
Well, here's my take on that. I mean, the guy's going to be 31, I think a month or two, whatever it is. Birthday's kind of right around the beginning of the year here. Where I'm stuck is that I think after 10 years, there's that adage where you're like, who this guy is at this point. And that's something that's said in the NFL, and it's a lot of times it is true. By 5-10 years, you know what a player is, what he can do. They don't get marginally better or worse at that point. But we've seen Stafford put up the numbers. We've seen him struggle in big games. We've seen him, he needs this, he needs that. I mean, the age is not a downside to me at all. I mean, 31, you see quarterbacks the way the NFL is structured where you can't hit them, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, the NFL is a tough game, but at the quarterback position, you see guys a lot of times play 35, 36, 38 years old before they hang it up if they're good and if they're making plays. So, there's no reason that this guy can't get it going and can't be here for another handful of years or get moved on and play for another team for a handful of years and be good in the NFL at the age of 31. But I'm stuck between, can he get back to that year when he was throwing 40-plus touchdowns and 4,500 to 5,000 yards, or are we stuck with this robotic game manager that, has to have everything go perfect for him to make plays? Because the NFL is an unperfect game, man. You see all the good quarterbacks. They make plays when everything's not going bright in the pocket. They throw incredible balls right on their guy, 30 yards down the field while he's covered, back shoulder, whatever it may be. If number 9 doesn't get back to that, yeah, I mean, I could see him being on the downside or being shoveled out of here at some point. But why can't he get back to the guy that's slinging around the yard and putting up big numbers and helping us score 20 to, not 20, like 25 to 30-ish points a game? I mean, on average, that's where we need to be with a guy like this. And I mean, that's my take on it. Is have we seen him? He is what he is, or does he have that 2011, 2012 in him somewhere? I don't know at this point, but I'm hoping it's the latter. I hope that he can bounce back and light up that scoreboard. But we'll see. The age is an issue. Let's put it that way.
I'm going to call this one. I'm just going to call it a blip on the screen, a bad year. It was kind of there from the start that I don't believe everybody on the team was buying into the Matt Patricia. I know you called it a lot. The Detroit Lions, golf, was at the clubhouse where everybody's kind of laid back. They didn't like it. When Patricia come in, try to ruff some feathers and get guys to work a little harder than what they're used to. So, them trading off Golden Tate, injuries, Marvin Jones, and like we had talked before, I think maybe Jim Bob Cooter, like defenses figured out how to scheme against him and he wasn't adjusting. So I'm gonna point this one to as saying it was just a bad year for him. We've seen other great quarterbacks do this in the past where they have a bad year. The numbers aren't there, touchdowns interception ratio is not there, and then they bounce back. And just a couple of years ago, Drew Brees didn't have that great a year passing. I mean, this year, Drew Brees is back in the MVP talk, and it's happened to other guys. We've seen it happen, bring up old guys. Steve Young, it happened to him. Joe Montana, it happened to him, and that's why they got rid of him in San Francisco and went with Steve Young. Steve Young was a little younger. Joe Montana was coming off an injury. Didn't put up a whole lot of great stats. Traded him away. Happened to John Elway. I mean, it happens to all these guys where they have a bad year and everybody starts writing them off as, are they on the downside of their career? So I'm going to paint this one as it was just a bad year. New offensive coordinator comes in, tailors the game to what Stafford can do. I know, like we said, Matt Patricia wants to try to, get a good running game. One of the top 5 running games in the league is what I believe he's shooting for. But still with that, having somebody who can throw the ball around the yard like Matt Stafford can, I still believe they need to do that as well. But like you said, you weren't quite for sure. And it might be one of those things like next year if he has another year like he did this year, and then you see the numbers really start to slide, in the next, 2-3 years, you could point this year as, as the year that, he's hit the downside. This is where he's on the downside of his career because in a few years he's going to be, 33. Like you said, guys can't play till 35, 36, but still it could be one of those things where you might point to this year and say this was the year that you could kind of see it coming. It's like he's at the crossroads now. Will he bounce back or will he continue to slide? So I'm going to chalk this one up as just a bad year due to circumstances around the team.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, just to hit on this before we move on, 28 to 34ish to me is the prime of a quarterback's career. So this is when he should be at his best, not on the downside, because he's taken all his lumps his first 2 years. He has a pretty good team now with some talented offensive skill players and whatnot. He should be rolling. Now, the only thing I wanted to throw in is you can say, oh, it's a blip, because of the stats and production. My biggest problem with Matt Stafford is he's never won anything. This guy's been here over a decade. I mean, we only have a couple seasons of, 10 wins or more. We have no playoff wins. I can't remember many big games, big moments where he raised it to the highest level. I mean, yes, he's had some comebacks and had some games in Dallas where he pulled a rabbit out of his hat. But until this guy wins something big, I mean, and people are like, oh, it's not all on the quarterback. Well, it starts with the quarterback. And even in the NBA, man, there's sometimes when a really good NBA player would just put the team on his shoulders and win the game. And I'm tired of kind of saying, well, so-and-so's got to do this and that. I'm waiting to say Matt Stafford won us that game, that division, that playoff game, and preferably that Super Bowl was because of the way he played, and I haven't seen it. So that's my biggest knock on him is until he wins something and leads this team to winning, that's going to always be a knock, no matter if he bounces back next year with stats.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys, like, if heaven forbid this happens where he gets to, maybe only wins, one wild card game, in the remainder of his career, and it just doesn't pan out. I'm not saying if he wins a Super Bowl, is he, one of those things, when it comes to it, we can always discuss this later, is Matt Stafford a Hall of Famer? You look at all these numbers he puts up, he gets his nickname, pad stats for, so it's one of those things. He's one of those guys. It's like he has a lot of stats, but is he a Hall of Famer type thing? So I know exactly what you're saying when, with the mantra, like, he hasn't won anything. He hasn't led us to anything, to say, like, he's great, or, like you said, it's still kind of like it sounds like you're saying to me, like, you're still kind of, you're kind of like in the show me stage. You got to show me something now. You've taken your lumps. We've given you everything. Now you got to, you got to show us you can do it.
Well, he showed me when he came here at 0-16, and he had that gunslinger, and he made plays and put up numbers. That showed me something. And then he got us over the hump and got us to the playoffs to go down to New Orleans and play. But the last handful or more years, he hasn't taken it to that next level and won the big game, won the division, won a playoff game. And until he gets that next level, like the other two times when he stepped up or when he brought the franchise forward, it's kind of lost in the wash, It's just like, yeah, we saw you do that. We appreciate it, but it was 8 years ago. Like, what are you going to do now? So that's where I'm at with it.
I got one more question here. I know I didn't want to go through and do like a full grade of like every position, like we did before. I was more like, I just wanted a couple final grades. Where do you think this team as a whole is? If you want to like grade the offense, grade the defense. I guess my question is, what would you give the defense a final grade for the year? What would you give the offense as a whole? And then I really want to know what would you give the coaching as a grade? Your final grades. Offense, defense, and coaching wise. What would be your final grades for these guys for the 2018 year?
I mean, without overthinking it, like, to me, the defense, the way they played the second half and the way they played overall, even in the games they lost, you look, other than a couple there, we really didn't get housed in a lot of games. So, I mean, the defense is going to get a B for me. The offense side of the ball is going to get a C minus. Just totally not good enough. Could probably even go worse than that, but I like what I saw from Kenny. I like what Carrion can do. Some of these players show me some things, but I mean, C minus, B as a defense with their upside. And from the coaching perspective, I mean, it's a new coach. He's bringing in new things. I believe this guy's won at a high level and is trying to do that here. So despite the record and whatnot, I mean, to me, the coach is going to be at the Matt Pat, to me, is a B minus. Just lots to learn, room for growth, but definitely not average, below average. I liked a lot of things he did this year. I just don't like the record and kind of the end result, but I thought he put some good groundwork there and don't mind it. So those are my grades if I had to just kind of come off the top of my head with them.
I'll start with the offense. I will, based on where I thought this offense would be going into the year and where they finished, I would probably say this offense, and I know I'm being real critical, and I would probably give them like a D+. I thought this team would be able to put up some points, the improved running game early on, but where this offense was compared to what I thought it'd be, I'm going to give them a D+. I know there's injuries on it, and like I said, I know trade away Golden Tate, but still, I mean, we both thought in the preseason that these guys would be throwing up some points, and they were really struggling at points, and their offense looked really, really mediocre and very pedestrian. So I would give them a D+. Now, the defense, I know early on, they were very porous, and they were giving up yards like they were going out of style, and they get snacks, and they really, really improved. I'm going to give the defense probably a B, like you said, with on the upside, with the arrow ticking up on that defense. A couple key pieces added here. It can be, top, inside the top 10 for defense. Coaching wise, like I said, first year coach, wasn't. I know we always kind of joked about their defense coordinator, Mother Goose, kind of wonder what they were doing here and there. Don't know if Matt Patricia, kind of took the reins over a little more, had a little more input in the second half or not. Offense-wise, Jim Bob Cooter, like I said, unable to really make any changes, looked very stagnant at times. But there was points I know, like, where me and you were both kind of questioning it afterwards, why didn't he use timeouts here? I don't think he was ever afraid to throw the challenge flag, which, Jim Caldwell always seemed to have that thing glued in his pocket. But, first year coach. I would probably give him a C at this point. And with that if you were going to go arrow up, arrow down, I would do like one of those things where you see like the arrow kind of going, just kind of laying flat right now. I guess we'll go from there once they choose a offense coordinator and kind of look in the preseason, kind of what that offense is going to run and where the defense will take, which way the arrow will tick on him. But like you said, first year coach, learning a lot. I'd put him at a C right now. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we go on a couple questions here at the end?
I'm good, Griffco. Let's hit these quick and get up out of here on this cool.
Just a couple fun questions here. This season, I know was a little rough, but what was your best memory from the season? Watching the games, so what was your best memory?
Oh, I mean, just to be quick on it, I just think that win versus New England in prime time. I mean, I think we had struggled. I think that was the third game of the year, so we were 0-2. Matt Pat getting a win against his former club. The way they played so good from top to bottom, looked so good that the country got to see the best of what the Lions had to offer. I mean, to me, that's probably my best memory.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. To be the New England game. What's your worst memory from the season?
You know it just as well as I do. Me sitting right next to you in Ford Field watching that first game, Monday Night Football. We're ready to rock and roll. Quandre Diggs takes it to the house. The place going crazy. And the worst memory for me was everything after that.
Yeah, that was a painful game to sit there and do that. I honestly think the worst memory for me, I know we harped on it and I know we always say it, but I think it was at that point, and it'll go into my next one. My next question would be like, at what point did you realize the team wasn't going to make the playoffs? My answer kind of goes hand in hand. Just hearing that, the trade of Golden Tate, I know Bob Quinn said it was better in the long run, but I think at that point the Lions realized, and I realized like, okay, this team stands zero chance of making the playoffs. So at that point, that would kind of be my worst memory. And at that point, I realized the team was going to make the playoffs. So at what point did you realize that this team no longer was going to be able to make a run and at least, make the playoffs?
Well, first off, my honorable mention for worst memory of the year was having to do that podcast with you about the Golden Tate trade where sky was falling, season was over because we traded a slot receiver that's 31, 32 years old and had 8 games left. But anyway, when I thought they just weren't going to make the playoffs was what was it? They had a game against Chicago, I think it was, or even Turkey Day when they just didn't show up, didn't play well against the Vikings. I mean, I think the Vikings game tipped it, and then they had won a game, I want to say, against Carolina or something, and then they went to Chicago and just got beat up and didn't look good, couldn't cover anybody. I mean, that's when I felt like, yeah, this team doesn't have it right now. They're not sound enough in a lot of different areas, and the record spoke for itself at that point.
Okay. I think I might know your answer on this, but I want to ask you, at any point in the year, did you ever question the hiring of Matt Patricia as the coach, as him being, yeah, this is the coach, that's going to lead us to the future, or to question it saying like, this is just another dead branch off the Bill Belichick coaching tree? Did you ever question the hire and think this is just not the right guy?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, there's so many people out there, and especially in the Detroit media and people like you, Grifka, and others, that they all overreact to everything. I mean, this is the long game. That's why I back up the third-round pick. That's why I back up some of these moves, is because, yeah, we want to win right now. We want to play good football. We want to be proud of our team, but we want to win long-term. We want to win big in the right way. And, to me, Matt Pats, he's done that with the Patriots. He's building. He has a lot of country club to tear down before he can build up a nicer building. So, I was on his side with everything. Now, did he learn some things, and did he, have a few bumps in the road here or there? Of course, but everybody does. That's both on a new job or that's kind of coming into a new culture. But, just so sick of the Dave Burketts and these people that want to just run a guy out of town because he has some struggles in the beginning of the year. You gotta let things play out, man, and you gotta project forward. As I always say, like, if this guy, I don't see this guy falling on his face the next 3 years. and then booting him out of town. I feel like he'll get it together here in year 2, and then hopefully all goes well. Year 3, 4 is where you see the best of this guy and this team. So we'll see if I'm right or not.
I mean, you've talked to me, and like you said, guys like me doubting it, but it would be like those games where they seem to be playing down to their competition, and then they'd show up against, New England and Green Bay early on, and even though they lost that Rams game, I mean, they came out with a solid plan and they hung with that team for a long time, and so it's games like that where it bounce back. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe this guy is something, but then, like you said, they go into Chicago, and Chicago just takes them behind the woodshed and just beats the daylights out of them. They have the game against Seattle at home, and Seattle just kind of comes out and just, Detroit was in that game really early. Then they just, when it went, it fell hard pretty fast. So it's one of those things, like you said, first year coach, and in those games where they're just getting housed, it's just like, gosh, man, we've seen this all the time. But then he comes back with games against, like the Rams. He could have let the team mail it in the last week of the season. Me and you were just both thought the Green Bay game, they're just going to get housed, big deal. And yeah, that team showed a lot of fight. Even and Green Bay did it. Too bad for Green Bay. That he could have had the Lions team mail it in too, but they went out there and they really beat the crap out of them. So yeah, like you said, next couple years, get the ship right and lead this team, deep. As like everyone mentions, Bill Belichick's first year in New England wasn't that great either, and look where he is now. So hopefully it's one of those things. It's just he's a sapling. Next couple of years he's going to grow into a mighty oak tree. So we'll go from there.
Did you say not that great, Grifka? I just want to throw one quick thing out. Like, if you go back and listen to our shows preseason or whatever, there's one time we had a talk, me, you, and Hughes, on the conference call we had, where I said, what if this team stumbles and goes like 6-10, 5 wins, 7 wins, something like that? Like, what were you guys thinking? You and Hughes are both on the side. Oh man, I'm gonna be pissed. It's not good enough. Like, that's unacceptable. And I know I'm on record as saying, like, hey, I could see it, just because as a new coach coming in, he's bringing in a new scheme, new everything. Like, it might take a little time. And that's why I've kind of been disappointed with the year, but also it hasn't totally shocked me. So, I don't want to keep losing or keep this learning curve, but I know I said even before the year that, this wasn't out of the realm of possibility when you're coming into a place like this, trying to change everything and trying to get it all turned around. So, like I said, I'm with you. Like, we just got to hope that gets it together, and if we have Marv Carry-On and a couple other defensive players, your boy Ziggy, like, we're not 6 wins, this year. We're more in that 8 range, 9 if we're lucky. So, that's the NFL, can go either way, any given Sunday.
And then just one quick question. With the Lions not making the playoffs and other years where they don't, do you ever kind of pick up another team and just kind of root for them? Say like, I want this team to do well. I'd like to see this team win the Super Bowl. You ever do that?
I don't necessarily pick one team. I mean, the way I've always worked is like, if my team is on, whatever sport it may be, I'm usually invested and want to catch that game. And because of fantasy football and whatnot, that keeps me engaged with the other teams and stuff that are going on. But I've never really been able to root for other teams per se, but like this year, some friends will hit me up. Who do you think's gonna make the Super Bowl? And the only way I really judge it is I'm like, man, when it comes down, when I have no rooting interest and no like fantasy on the line or whatever it may be, like, I'm just rooting for again, get your ESPN ready, Grifka, because I root for the top players on the top teams that are the most exciting and that are the most fun to watch to get there. So my easy answer was, who do you want to make the Super Bowl? Rams and Chiefs, baby. That would be a heck of a ball game to watch with a lot of firepower all over the field. And that's who I root for. Maybe I'll root for like a guy like Tom Brady, just because the Michigan ties and just being the greatest of all time. He's fun to watch, just never loses, always finds a way, that type of thing. But no, I usually don't latch on to like one team and pull for them, really. It's just more for fun matchups and good games, or for a player to get over the hump or to keep winning. So that's kind of how I do it.
I guess with me, I always kind of root for that team that I guess has like never done it. I guess I always kind of, me, I always kind of get tired of hearing about the Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers and, the Cowboys and so this year with the playoffs, I don't think there's really that team out there that is just like, oh, these guys have never done. I'd really like to see them. Like the year the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl, it was one of those things like when they were rolling, it's like, yeah, go, man. This team's never done anything. It's something like that's great to see. And so I'll hook on to a team like that, but with like who's in the playoffs this year, I mean, like you said, this year I'm just kind of hoping to see like good games. And like you said, Rams Chiefs would be a great Super Bowl. I think early preseason I picked Rams Patriots. I think you picked Chargers. I can't remember who you picked on the NFC, but even the Chargers offense, that would be, kind of cool to say, like, to see that, that team can put up points and they're a pretty good defense as well. So, it might be those guys. I'm just like you said, Chargers never won it. Might be one of those teams like, yeah, come on. I mean, like you said, Tom Brady, a big Tom Brady fan because he went to Michigan, to, see him, win again. I'm always cool with that. But, like the Chargers might be one of those teams I like, kind of hook on to and say like, come on, just go win something because you've never done it before. I realize they made a Super Bowl, but still they've never won it. So that'd be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Playoff football, watching it this year. Hopefully, Detroit Kool-Aid will in it next year.
So that's all I got. Get anything else before we close up shop here?
Well, Griff, I want to talk about the draft. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go ahead and get up out of here, everybody. We thank you so much for listening. Please check us out. We're going to be coming at you. Me and Griff are still trying to figure out the kind of off-season schedule, how to attack things. We'll probably be coming to you with game reviews where we're pulling up the condensed version of the season's games, maybe breaking it down a little bit more. We also have some ideas about maybe doing a real GM type of contest where me and Griff are cutting players and kind of working salary cap against each other and kind of seeing who can put the best Lions team out there in a virtual sense. And then obviously we have tons of draft coverage, tons of free agency, all that stuff. So look forward to it. We'll give you some more updates once we get our schedule all buttoned up. But for me and for Grifka and for Detroit Kool-Aid Cast, we're going to get up out of here. Everybody have a great week. We'll check you next week. We're out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.